What's good, Roughnecks fans, and welcome back to the Rough 'em Up podcast. I'm your host, Cullen Watkins, and if you're a Roughnecks fan, which I really hope you are if you're watching this video, I have some juicy news and analysis coming your way in this edition of the Rough 'em Up podcast, because I will be going over all the draft picks that the Roughnecks drafted in the 2023 XFL rookie draft. So I'll be giving you stats, their awards, some of their background, how do they play, and finally, how will they fit in this current Roughnecks team, and like a little prediction type thing. Well, pretty much I'll just be giving you everything you need to know about the guys that we drafted in the 2023 XFL rookie draft. Now, remember, these are guys who are eligible to get drafted in the 2023 NFL draft, but they were undrafted, so the XFL went and picked them up. So that's who we're dealing with here. If you have any other questions about it, I guess you can just comment it down below. But the information's pretty much everywhere, and the basics of all of this is these guys are now have their rights to the Roughnecks unless they get picked up by an NFL team by December 26th. After December 26th, if they're not picked up by an NFL team, bam, they are for sure on the roster. But currently right now, all these guys are on the XFL, the Roughnecks roster. See what I'm getting at? They're on the roster until they get picked up, or if they get picked up by an NFL team, not any other team, all right? So that's what we're dealing with here. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, put it in the comment section down below. I'll try my best to reply to it. But let's get straight into it, shall we? So with our first pick that I'm going to be going over, this is the pick I am most excited about. Lindsay Scott Jr., a quarterback out of Incarnate World. He is 25 years old, 5'11", 212 pounds, and if you haven't heard of Lindsay Scott Jr., if you're unfamiliar with the, FCS football scene or just the football scene in general, all you need to know about him is that in 2022, he was awarded the Walter Payton Award. Now, Cullen, what's the Walter Payton Award? It's given to the best offensive player in the FCS. It's essentially the Heisman Trophy of the FCS. So, FCS offensive player, they want this. This is the peak award that they want. It's essentially the Heisman Trophy, like I said. The Walter Payton Award, just for some reference, has been awarded to the likes of Tony Romo, Taylor Heineke, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, and Cooper Kupp. This award's given to NFL-level guys, NFL star guys, with Cooper Kupp. So this award is the real deal, and Lindsay Scott Jr., he won it last year. He won it. He also won the first team FCS All-American Award. He was a Southland Conference Player of the Year, first team All-Southland Conference Player. And he set the FCS record for touchdown passes in a season. Talk about jackpot. That sounds like the jackpot to me, because as soon as I read you these stats, you're going to see why. In 14 games, he threw for 4,686 yards, 60 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, with 712 rushing yards and 11 rushing touchdowns. You kidding me? No wonder he won the Walter Payton Award. But just overall, the stats and the awards prove that this guy, Lindsay Scott Jr., he's ready for the next level. But he didn't get a shot from the NFL. But now, in the XFL, let me tell you why I think Lindsay Scott, he's going to give the starting job for the Roughnecks a run for its money, whoever it may be. Because remember, keep in mind, the Roughnecks currently, right now, we still have Brandon Silvers, we still have Cole McDonald, I believe we still have Caleb Ellaby, and now we're going to have a fourth, Lindsay Scott Jr. So something's going to have to give here. But with Lindsay Scott Jr., he's only 25. He can run really, really well. Given 712 rushing yards, 11 rushing touchdowns, he can run very well because he's short and stocky. A lot of NFL scouters were talking about that with Lindsay Scott Jr., how his squattier build, he can run the ball really well. And as we know, the Roughnecks, some of these games in the 2023 season, we missed having a mobile quarterback. So Lindsay Scott, he is a mobile quarterback who can really, he can get on his feet, he can get on his horse. And two, his passing, he passes really well. He threw 60 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in a season. The numbers speak for themselves. So for those two reasons alone, he is fully capable of winning the starting spot for the Houston Roughnecks when it comes to 2024. We'll just have to see what Wade Phillip wants. We'll have to see how Cole McDonald, Silvers, and Ellaby, how they improve. But it adds more competition to the quarterback room in Houston, and that's beneficial because competition is always crucial in getting the best team and the best players. So that's what I have to say about him. Hopefully you enjoyed looking at all the film I have up and get a better view of who Lindsay Scott Jr. is. And fun fact, he actually was drafted by the USFL, the Pittsburgh Maulers, and the USFL. But as far as I'm concerned, I believe his rights are with the Houston Roughnecks right now, not in the USFL. So I don't really know about the USFL, whatever. But anyways, that's Lindsay Scott Jr. I'm most excited about him out of this whole draft class. He headlines it big time. So Lindsay Scott Jr., keep an eye out for him. We'll be talking about him a lot, I'm sure. So on to the next pick. So our next player that we have up is Austin Ajike out of UNLV. He is a linebacker coming in at 6'2", 220 pounds. Now, you will notice throughout this whole video that the Roughnecks drafted a lot of help on defense, whether it was D-line or linebackers, and Austin Ajike is no exception to it because he looks really good. He's one of my favorite linebackers that we picked in this draft. In 2022, he won all conference honors, and he came 9th in all of FBS in tackles with 132, and that segues perfectly into his stats. In 2022, he had 132 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. Hey, he's a good player. You know, the stats don't lie. His awards don't lie. And you're top 10 in all of college football with tackling. Clearly, he's a good tackler. And everything I see about him when it comes to scouting reports is about how fast and explosive he is. And I've seen some interviews of him, too, and he seems like a very bright guy, and he cares about the game of football. And you already know Wade Phillips is going to eat that up. So I'm really excited to see what Austin can do here under Coach Wade Phillips. And keep in mind, too, all these linebackers, including Austin, is joining a very good linebacker room. I'd say, stats say one of the best defenses in the league. The Roughnecks were one of the best defenses in 2023, the 2023 season, because you have Wade Phillips as the coach. So all these guys getting drafted to this team, they're going to be under the best defensive-minded coach in the league with Wade Phillips. So that's really exciting. But, you know, it's going to be competitive because we have Trent Harris, John Daka, Emmanuel Ellerby, these top guys who led the XFL and tackling and whatnot. But that's only going to make guys like Austin Ajike better because you're learning from these guys who already played in the XFL. And two, with Austin, he can play special teams really well, supposedly, as I've heard. So we're probably going to be using him on special teams. But yeah, that's Austin Ajike, linebacker out of UNLV. Really excited about him. I don't think we missed at all with this pick. I can see him being a contributor on this defense. So that's Austin Ajike. Now we are going to a O-lineman. I know, an O-lineman, but we were expecting to see a lot of O-linemen taken just in the XFL draft in general because with the Spring Football League, an O-line is crucial. A good O-line is crucial. But we have Quentin Barrow, a O-lineman out of Grand Valley State. And he is a beast. He comes in at 6'6", 331 pounds. And, I think Quentin Barrow is going to get a starting job. I'll tell you why. Because when it comes to his awards, he won Conference O-Lineman of the Year, GVSU O-Lineman of the Year. He was a Conference Commissioners Association All-Region player and a All-GLIAC First Team player. He pretty much was on every single first team or offensive line player of the year award that you could get. He got it all. And coming at 6'6", 331 pounds, he knows how to play football and he knows how to defend his quarterback. When I looked at his scouting reports, everything I saw about him was his NFL size. He has the size to be in the NFL. He has the size to be on a starting NFL O-line. He just needs more development with his technique and like his stance. That's all it is. And that's going to be easy when you're in a type of situation like the XFL, like with the Roughnecks O-line coaching staff, because we had a pretty all right O-line. I think our O-line did really good, actually, the more I think about it. We weren't San Antonio's O-line, all right? We had a good O-line, and I think Quentin Barrow, he's only going to make it better. He's only going to make it better. You saw his conference stats, his conference awards, and coming in at 6'6", 331 pounds. I mean, you're going to start when you're that big. I wish I was that big. I'm not even close. But he's going to get a good shot here in the XFL. So Quentin Barrow, great pickup for the O-line. Going back to the defensive side of things, we got Marvin Pierre, a linebacker out of Kent State. He comes in at 6'1", 221 pounds. When it comes to the stats, in 11 games, he had 96 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, 1 interception, and 2 forced fumbles. So he was everywhere on the field at Kent State. And when it comes to his scouting report, I've heard great things about his nasty attitude in a good way. He's a competitor. He trash talks. Like I said, he just has a nasty attitude on the field. He wants to go out there and he wants to hit the opposing team hard. And it shows him the 2 forced fumbles, 1.5 sacks as a linebacker. Woo, that's pretty good. And he got the 1 interception as well. I've also heard great things about his quick mental ability. A lot of the scouting reports I read, he has great mental capability. You know, he's quick to think and he's quick to make reactions. I also did hear that he needs to work on special teams a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, if you're a good linebacker, you know, it's sure you want special teams capability, but it's not the end of the world, especially with his college stats. He clearly knows how to play on all sides of the field, whether it be in the middle of the field or on the side of the field. He knows how to play. So Marvin Pierre, linebacker out of Kent State, I know a lot of people are really excited about him. I've heard some people on Twitter talking about him. I'm really excited to see him play, you know. Like I said, and he also went to Mater Day, so that's actually really impressive too. But like I said, with all these guys, you just don't know, all right? You can't write any of these guys off because, you know, this is what the XFL is all about. For guys like Marvin Pierre to come in and put up big time stats and maybe learn special teams, you know. So Marvin Pierre, I think he has a really good chance of proving himself, and like the scouting report says, he has the physical and mental capabilities. So we'll see what he can do. Next, we have another O-lineman. We have Marcus Minor out of Pittsburgh, coming in at 6'4", 325 pounds. He was on the first team All-ACC team. He was the ACC O-Lineman of the Week, and he made it to the Tropical Bowl All-Star game. Hey, it's depth. It's good depth. He was on the first team All-ACC team. That's really impressive. So you know he has the talent, and he's physically and mentally gifted. Look at his tape, and even his scouting reports say so. He's a freak of nature on the physical side. Yeah, he's not Quentin Barrow at 6'6" or whatever, but he's still 6'4", 325 pounds, and he knows how to use his strength to his advantage. I just have heard that he needs to work on some of his hand placement for leverage. I never was an O-lineman. Look at me. I don't look like an O-lineman, but I can imagine, just like I said with Quentin Barrow, it just takes practice and good coaching, and the Roughnecks are going to bring that to the table. And like any of the O-linemen that we're bringing to the team, I wrote this in my notes. Any of the O-linemen that we're bringing to this team in this draft, they're going to get a chance to start, right? Because if it doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter how old you are, if you can defend that quarterback and defend the running game or whatever, defend the running back, you're going to start. It doesn't matter how big you are or how, you know, your background or your history. It just matters how good you are. So guys like Marcus Minor, Quentin Barrow, they're going to get their legit shots to start. And I'm really excited about that because so far as we covered, Marcus Minor and Quentin Barrow, they look good to me. They look really good to me. Whoever's quarterback for this team, going to have some big guys defending him. So that's Marcus Minor out of Pittsburgh. Really excited about him. Now we have our very first defensive back that the Roughnecks took in the 2023 XFL rookie draft. We have Elijah McGee out of Minnesota State, Mankato, I believe, coming in at 6'2", 195 pounds. I put a star next to this guy because special teams and his ball hawk capabilities. Everything I've heard about this guy, whether it was articles or videos, talked about his ability to play special teams and play it well. So that's always a plus. It's always a plus to have a guy who can play special teams and play it effectively too. Because we know Wade Phillips, or all football coaches, love their special teams. In 13 games, Elijah McGee put up 63 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. But those 2 interceptions actually contributed to his 11 career interceptions. So that's what I'm saying. He's a ball hawk. He knows how to find the ball, and 11 career interceptions, man, I think that's good enough to find at least some role on the Roughnecks roster. I can imagine. I'm sure you agree with me. And he has the physical ability, size, strength, and speed. He also has 4 career block kicks, so that's what I'm talking about. Special teams guy. You have 4 career block kicks in college. Yeah, you're for sure going to be on the starting special teams role here. And sure, he may find himself on defense, maybe, playing alongside a Ajani Harris or whatever, but for sure a special teams guy, 4 career block kicks, that sounds really good, and that's what I'm saying. He has the speed, he has the size, he has the athleticism that the Roughnecks want. So that's Elijah McGee. Keep an eye out for him. I'd almost put money that we're going to be hearing from him in the 2024 XFL season. You're going to be hearing his name, hopefully making some block kicks against the Renegades or Brahmas or something. But that's Elijah McGee. Coming down to our final 3 players that we will be covering in today's episode, we have Michael Ayers, a linebacker out of Ashland. Comes in at 6'2" and weighing at 220 pounds. He's a big guy. He's a heavy guy, and I love to see that out of my linebackers. When it comes to his awards, he won First Team Division II Conference Commissioner Honors, and he was the Great Midwest Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Whenever you're dealing with Defensive Player of the Years, I don't care what conference you're in, you're elite. You know how to play the game of football, especially on defense in this case. His stats, 81 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 3 forced fumbles, and then he played at Walnut Ridge High School, which I heard is a good high school for football. Yeah, he's good, but let me tell you this. He is actually probably the most NFL-ready player that we drafted. And I know that may be surprising, but literally the scouting report said he has a legitimate shot at being an NFL player. He just needs to get bigger and get stronger. And that just takes time. Like I already know in Arlington, the XFL has their weight room open, and Michael Ayers already at 220 pounds. He's only going to get stronger, and that's good for us because hopefully he plays the season for us. So Michael Ayers, he was supposedly a standout. They call him a standout linebacker at Ashland. Being called having a legitimate shot of being an NFL player. You love to hear it. So Michael Ayers, keep an eye out for him. He might be a big playmaker for this team. So hopefully he doesn't get picked up by an NFL team. And hopefully he plays at the rig for the 2024 season. So that's Michael Ayers. Keep an eye out for him. Being the final O-lineman that we will be covering in today's episode, we have Ahofitu Maka, a O-lineman / center out of UTSA, that's University of Texas, San Antonio. Now, being a fan of the University of Houston, I go there, I follow their football program. I remember how good that UTSA program was last college football season. 11-3 record. 11-3 record, and they almost beat the Cougars in that first week, so they could have been like 12-2. So Ahofitu Maka, he was on that O-line. He was on that O-line that really led college football in some great offensive stats, and the Roughnecks on Twitter and like Instagram have actually been showing him some love, posting his highlights. So even the social media team over there is excited about Maka. But his awards: first team All-Conference USA. That's really good. It's Conference USA. It's a Division I conference. And he also was a William B. Campbell Trophy finalist. Believe that's for OLineman, but correct me if I'm wrong about that. But man, this guy's under the radar. Significantly under the radar. He has outstanding vision and toughness. Scouting reports said he sort of struggles to pick up the blitz. That just takes practice. What matters, though, is the vision and the toughness, and the fact that even NFL scouts were saying that he went under the radar for NFL teams. So that means all three of these O-linemen that we picked up, that's Maka, Minor, and Barrow, all three of these guys will get playing time if they stay on this team. I really, really like all the O-linemen that we picked up. I think Wade Phillips and co did a great job. I'm really excited about the O-linemen that we got. There's not a hole in any of these players that just doesn't look bad. Like, all these guys look like NFL caliber players that we drafted, especially a guy like Maka. 6'3", 325 pounds. He's tough to move. I'm really excited to see him go, especially after being such a good player on a very good UTSA team. But that's Ahofitu Maka. A little tough to say, but I think I got it. And now our final player that we will be covering for today, and keep in mind, none of this is in particular order. We have Momar Fall, a DLineman out of Colorado State Pueblo. He's a big guy. Listen to this. He's 6'6", 276 pounds. Yeah, like I said, why can't I get those genes, folks? Why do I have to be under 6 foot? But Momar actually has a very interesting story. He was actually a wrestler from the country of Senegal. And then I believe it was he came here and started playing football. So he's a wrestler. I'm not talking WWE. No, I'm talking amateur wrestling. That's what they call it. You get on the mat, and that's real wrestling. So he's a very physical guy. In 2022, his stats: 12 games, 56 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, and 1 interception as a D-lineman. That's really good. But I think for Momar Fall, his stats don't stick out, but what sticks out is his physical capability. He's 6'6", 276 pounds. He's clearly physically gifted and hopefully physically talented. And with all these guys that I mentioned here today, hopefully with enough time, enough practice, and enough training from the Roughnecks staff, from just XFL staff in general, we can create these guys into contributing players. And I really do believe that all these guys that I mentioned here today, they have a chance to start, and they should start. I know they have the potential to. These are young guys. They have a lot to learn. They have a lot to grow on. And this goes back to Momar Fall, 6'6", 276 pounds. The guy's just out of college. He just got out of college. So just get some more training on him, get some more development, and so he can use that 6'6" frame to really make a big impact at the XFL level. But so that's Momar Fall, and that is it. So that's all 10 of the players that we got. I want you to tell me down below who you are most excited for, and keep in mind too, I think it is interesting. Besides O-linemen, I'm talking like offensive skill positions. We got no wide receivers and no running backs. Other teams, I believe the Renegades, maybe the Guardians, I think a lot of other teams, I think even maybe the Battlehawks too, they picked up their wide receivers. Now, if you remember me saying at the end of the season, I feel like our wide receivers really started to struggle on us at the end. And that was a big reason why we sort of fell off at the end of the 2024 season. So that's really the only red flag I have about the draft. But I trust that Wade Phillips and his coaching staff, I hope they know what they're doing. They do know what they're doing. But I trust that they know what they're doing by not picking up a fresh wide receiver out of college. Instead, aiming more for beefing up their D-line and their linebacker positions, which, again, I don't expect anything different. It's Wade Phillips. He loves his defense. So Again, tell me down below, who are you most excited for out of this XFL 2023 Roughnecks draft class? Congrats to all of them. If you want to share this with them, go right ahead. I love all these guys. I'm really excited, and I want to meet a lot of them. Hopefully I do as soon as I get back to Houston when the school year starts. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll try to upload more as more Roughnecks information gets out. It's just a little slow right now because it's the off season. So, folks, subscribe, like, and rough them up, baby. Go Roughnecks. I'll see you next time.